So initially, this was actually supposed to be just a couple of videos a week here and there on what's going on during what I've labelled silly season, as many of other people have done as well. But it all started to kick off last night. Of course, yesterday we talked about the 4v4 scenario and how it's going to leave some teams in some precarious situations of who do they drop. No so more than the Dallas Empire, of course, who did go on to win champs. And they've had to make a change, as you all would have seen. Let's go through it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fact that Clayster got dropped last night. And like, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not like overly surprised about it. In fairness, we'll talk about our opinions on it anyway. But if you did miss it, let's jump through it and talk about restrictive here for the CDL season. I'm not going to read these straight longer. I'm sure you went through it, but this is how things did break down. Let's try and get some sort of grasp on what's went on. So quite a few tweets coming from Clay, but obviously I don't want to blow Twitter, but man, this is outrageous for me. Spent all night subbing and shade smoking 6. I mean, look, it's harsh. This was always going to happen to somebody on this team. Clayster for me probably makes the most sense for the Dallas Empire to move on, but let's just go through again. I totally understand the numbers, business standpoint, but it really felt cool to me to win a world championship for a team and have them force my team options so that they can sell me for a buyout instead of letting me walk for free. I know Stroh doesn't want it, but man, investors think. And then something happened in terms of Hastro replying to that, but he has deleted the tweet. In terms of what he was saying of, well, you have to understand that they're not just going to, you know, give you away for free. They paid money for Clayster to come towards this team. They will want to recuperate some of that back, but then Clayster's argument was that he's recouped that money for you guys, not from a strictly number standpoint, but from everything else plus price cut. Sorry, get me somewhere good, please. Hastro, on it, brother. You deserve the best treatment. Already been working hard today to make that happen. For anybody saying anything about timing this, it does suck, but to be soon such a close victory, such a huge victory. But I would also much rather be this way, that we're told ASAP so I can feel options and figure out a new land place that works. I'd so much rather have it this way. 100%. I mean, like, you do not want to be in a situation where it gets towards the end of the transfer period where, you know, it happened to a couple of people in terms of transfers happening very, very late, teams happening very, very late. In Clayster's case, this is probably best case scenario for him. Were he to get dropped, it happens as soon as possible. He's then in a position where he has time to do something with his career. And then went into it, because I know obviously he was talking about the buyout, etc. I 100% didn't mean for any of my previous tweets to cast any shade or hate on Stroh. He's working his absolute hardest to get me a team that I want to go to. He's not going to send me somewhere I don't want to go. Lighten up on us a little bit. It's been a rough 24 hours, and I absolutely agree. I think Hastro, knowing him for years, is a player. He was a player, obviously, but is somebody who is he's a very kind person, I think, and I've always sort of looked up to him as being a very responsible person within this scene. So I think he will do best for Clayster, and he has said he has the deal. I'm going to make sure we send Clayster to whatever team he wants. If we're still 5v5, we're still trying this guy to a 4-year contract extension right now. Damn, I'm going to miss you, dude. Yeah, I mean, look, why would you not? Like, this whole team went on and performed fantastically over the air and progressively got better towards the end, winning world champs. Of course, you can see the whole of the Empire squad are cut up about it. Hook doesn't really talk very much. I wish I was more outspoken publicly, but honestly, fuck it. Just knows. Can't speak this morning. Just no one's fucking happy about it. Clayster then obviously dives in, ain't your fault, nobody's fault but the league and my own, don't be too hard on yourself, blah blah blah. Crimsix obviously then comes in there and says, I mean, it's like an obituary, isn't it? it's like Clayster's died or something, but you know, he's moved on. Again, like, Hastro coming in, here's the deal, I'm going to make sure we send Clayster to wherever he has to go. And honestly, mostly just people pouring in a lot of love and a lot of support for Clayster in this time. But this is something I do want to touch on before I delve into my opinion on the whole matter. So my opinion on something else. Fuck Deserto, because it was Deserto who actually came out and revealed it. Some sources came to them and told them it was going to happen, so they posted it out. Thus, Clayster then had to come out and say it himself, although I would have admitted that it probably would have been coming quite shortly anyway. But then this whole thing happens between Ferro and Deserto, and I'll preface this with that I'm really good friends with all the Deserto guys, so you can sort of, you know, take what I say with a pinch of salt in that respect. I've known them for years. I know the hustle they've done to get to where they are, and I think it's a really good website. Some people might, you know, query how much validity like some of their articles have in terms of what people want to, you know, click onto, etc. Maybe validity isn't necessarily the best word or the right way to say that word, but they do good work, and I think they're doing it for the news to the fans that want to see it. This whole thing happened with Ferocities and Mike, obviously. Y'all has come the way y'all are right, and the way you move is sad. Fuck you guys, deadass. Also unfollow me right now. And then it gets into the whole debate about when Pharaoh said some naughty words at one point, and then I don't know. I just think that there's this whole thing that comes on about DeSoto. The hate for me is unwarranted. I know Clayster's had some problems with DeSoto in the past, and I remember when I worked for them in London, he refused to do an interview with DeSoto. Not me, of course, but I don't get the hate. I'll just preface that. I'll end the argument with that one. But the night wasn't done, of course. Wiskins tweeted this out. Full-time content creator by the looks of it. So I immediately went into the stream to see what's been going on, and then obviously people have been finding out what's been going on. I mean, let's listen to the video. I mean, we can't because I haven't got desktop audio on. I don't think we can. Either way, we can't listen to it, but he says, I'm not trolling, this is it, I've been dropped. I just had a phone call with Odie by the looks of things. But then Scraps comes in and he sort of backs it up to the point of, yes, okay, it's just new contracts coming through. We have the option of yes or no. So it looks like the Ogs at this position, even though immediately when I seen that London had sort of already done something with this, and we'll see the Jed tweet coming up as well. I'm an unrestricted free agent, so they have let them go. It must mean their contracts have run out towards the end of the season. So ultimately, it seems as if London are just keeping their options open. It wouldn't surprise me to see this team re-sign with London. It makes more sense with it being a British team and performing very, very well towards the end of the year, coming up 4th, trying to finally find their squad. And I'd imagine they will keep a hold majority of the squad. I'd be very surprised if the Twins get let go. But then we just follow into it. Wooly was fully dropped. No from Scraps. It just seems to be maybe blown out of proportion and all that. But Cog Gamepedia were in there saying, what's going to reply to come to the chat and saying all of you? And he said, yes, as far as he knows. It makes sense. September the 13th is the 2020 league termination date, so it could just be contracts have yet to be renewed. So it just comes to the point where these contracts are for the year. I wouldn't be... Look, it doesn't surprise me that London haven't committed these guys to like a 5-year contract, although to happen this early is maybe a little bit strange, but all these updates came out flying, and I was immediately like, wow, I can't believe they've actually just fully dropped the squad, but it seems to be not that deep. Although Jared, I wouldn't be surprised if he is gone, obviously not on having necessarily the best year, but unrestricted free agent for the 2021 season. Let's delve into the opinions on it though. I've got you guys now up to date. My opinion on the Dallas situation is that Clayster was the choice to make. Let's be honest. You have that other squad. Yes, okay, you got Crimsix in there, who's sort of similar age bracket, is moving on toward the latter stage of his career, you would think, but he's sort of the undisputed certified greatest of all time Crimsix now. I don't think you can get rid of him, especially with his performance towards the end of the season. But then you've got Hook, Illy, and Shotzi. They are 3 players who are the future and present of the Call of Duty scene. I think it makes so much more sense to keep these guys locked into your squad because they just seem to be getting better. Illy and Shotzi specifically, it was their first year properly in the CDL. Of course, Hook has had his up and down moments, but is still sort of seen as a youngish player. He's still got plenty of years behind him. Clayster and Crimsix was the decision, and Clayster is always going to be the one to go there in that case. It made the absolute most sense, and I will say it's a bad situation for Empire to be in. I would never ever have wanted myself to be in that sort of situation, and that's why you're seeing the outpouring of love from everybody. I mean, yes, okay, Clayster puts these out, but you know how many people were saying how much they enjoyed teaming with Clayster from that squad, so it was always going to be Clayster if it was going to be one of the 5 to go. And this is the first one that we're going to see in terms of one player being released. I don't think we're going to see too many more where it's just a one player being let go. I think we will see more movement than that anyway. It just makes things a little bit more difficult to get some of these players back in. Let's move on to London, but as said, it seems fairly standard, honestly. It doesn't, I mean, basically from what Scraps has been saying here, Wuskin said he's been dropped out of the conversations. Scraps says it's just new contracts. I am not reading too much into that one, in all honesty. London are just keeping their options open for that. I do not blame them. I wouldn't be surprised if they do keep a hold of the squad. But let me know what you think in the comments. Is Clayster going to get himself another team to get another World Championship? 3 in a row would truly be some phenomenal achievement. Not that his career hasn't been phenomenal so far. I really personally hope that he does stick around. Honestly, He's a really nice guy. We've had him on Spitfire before as well, and I think he's a really good talisman for the scene, and I hope he sticks around. We'll get rid of my DMs out the corner there as well. But really, I hope Clayster sticks around. Let's see what sort of team he gets onto. The London situation, let me know where you think this team's going to go. Let me know where you think Clayster's going to end up. That's going to be it for this video. Please leave it a like, comment if you can as well. Let me know below, and subscribe if you have not. We'll catch you for the next video.